Today I'm ranking all the 3x3 F2L cases. So you guys really seem to like the tier list videos, so here we have another one for 3x3 F2L cases. So I'm going to be ranking these from S tier, which is the easiest ones, or just my favorite ones to do, down to D tier, which are the worst ones, obviously. For this tier list, I'm assuming these cases are for the last slot, so you can't take advantage of any other empty slots when solving the cases. So we're going to get the obvious ones out of the way. This one is a super easy insert. The pair's already finished, just need to put it in. Obvious S tier. This case is just a 3-move insert, so goes in S tier. This is just the mirror of the previous one, another 3-move insert, S tier. This one's probably the next easiest case. You just need to pair them up in the most simple way possible and then put them in, so S tier. And its mirror also goes in S tier. This one is very similar to the others. It's just like one extra move for like a U2 instead of a U. It's basically where the pair is ready to be paired up. You just need to do an R, U2, R prime, and then insert instead of an R, U, R prime. So I put this one in S tier as well, and the mirror goes in S tier. So now that we got that out of the way, this is the hardest F2L case we've come across so far. It's still pretty easy. You just need to move the pieces so that you end up with a 3-move insert and put it in. It's just a few extra moves and then a 3-move insert. So I'm gonna put this at A tier. Again, this one's just a mirror. It might require a cube rotation, but that's it. So this one actually requires you to break up the corner and the edge with an R, U2, R prime, and then insert it, which isn't too far off from the ones I put in A tier, but it sometimes requires a couple cube rotations, and I just don't like it when I get it into solve, so I'm gonna put it down in C tier. I think there are ones better that deserve B tier. This one looks difficult and complicated when you first see it, but really it requires just breaking up the edge and corner and then inserting. This is kind of what I meant when I said that there are ones that I like more than these that deserve B tier. Not as good as these, but still pretty easy to execute, especially when you already have the slot in the back and the pieces in the front, and you can just do a quick, easy to execute algorithm. And in fact, I'd say the mirror for this one is even better. It goes in A tier because this one requires a cube rotation if you think about it, and this one doesn't. This one's kind of the same thing. You break up the corner and the edge, and then it's one of these cases at the top. The only thing bad about this is that it sometimes requires a cube rotation, especially if you're doing it as the last slot. So I'm gonna put it in B tier. Even though it's not the worst F2L case, it's not one of the best. Same with its mirror. I like the mirror a little better, but it still requires a cube rotation, so I'm gonna put it in B tier. However, the case gets much better when it's not the last slot, and you could just do a simple algorithm like that. This one in particular doesn't require a cube rotation. It's just, I think the algorithm is R, U2, R prime, U prime, R, U, R prime, which is actually very quick to execute. I'm gonna try to do it as fast as possible. It's just, which is actually very satisfying. So I'm gonna put it at A tier. It's not an S tier because it's not like a super intuitive one or just an insert. It's not on the level of like this or this, but it's still one of the best ones. This mirror would require you to do it either left-handed or cube rotate, so I'm gonna put it at B tier. This one here is one that you just kind of have to learn an algorithm for. R, U2, R prime, which will give you the pair and you just insert it, which is actually very simple. It's one of the shorter F2L algorithm type things, and it doesn't require a cube rotation even if you're doing it as the last slot, so I'm gonna put it in A tier. Its mirror, on the other hand, if I remember correctly, either requires a cube rotation or to do it left-handed, so it goes in B tier. This one's kind of similar to the previous one, where you just do an R, U prime, R prime, and then a 3-move insert, so it's not that hard at all, so I'm gonna give it an A tier. And this one goes in B tier for the reason I stated in the previous B tier ones. This case is another one that seems complicated, but actually isn't if you learn a simple algorithm. It's just R, U prime, R prime, U prime, R, U prime, R prime, U, R, U prime, R prime, which seems very long, but actually looks more like this, which is actually super fast. So I'm gonna put it in A tier, and its mirror also in A tier. I know it requires a cube rotation, but I just like it. I actually really don't like this one. This is probably going in D tier. We all know this one. It's the corner's already solved. We need to put the edge in. It's like in the beginner's method where you do layer by layer, but it requires this algorithm with a couple regrips, at least if you do it the way I do it. It's one of my least favorites to get. Same goes for its mirror in D tier. This one, on the other hand, would go in A tier, maybe even S tier, because the corner is in its place but twisted. The edge is on top. It doesn't look too different from these down here, but it's just R, U prime, R prime, U, and then repeat that another time. So super quick. I'm gonna put it in A tier, and I might change it to S tier later. Even though this is the mirror of the other case, it's actually a completely different algorithm. It's actually just sledgehammer, sledgehammer, and it's finished. One of the easier ones out there. I'm gonna put it in A tier, maybe B tier actually. Yeah, I'll put it in B tier. A tier is getting kind of cramped. This case is just R, U, R prime, and then the pair is ready to be put in. I'm gonna put it in A tier, but I'm also gonna make some room for other A tier ones. This case is just R, U, R prime, U prime twice. I was gonna put it in A tier, but I might actually put it in S tier and maybe move some of these down to A tier at the end of the video, since I don't think this one is as good as this one, for example, so I might have to move things around at the end of the video. This one is kind of a pain to do. There's an algorithm for it where it's just like U prime, sledgehammer, and then insert, but that's not the most intuitive way to solve it. And overall, it's just not a very good case in my opinion. So I'm gonna put it in C tier. It's not as bad as these down here, but it's also one of the worst ones. This one, there's no good intuitive way to do it. It's just R, U, R prime, U prime 3 times. I think this one goes in C tier also. It takes 12 moves to solve, which is much higher than most of the other cases on here. So that's why it's that low. With this one, the edge is already solved, but the corner's out of its place, and it's deceptively easy to do. You just move the corner out of the way, take the edge out, and that kind of matches the pair up already, and then you just insert it. But it's still not as good as maybe some of the other ones in A tier, so I'm gonna put it in B tier. This is kind of the same idea, but mirrored, or you could do it a different way. I'm gonna put it in B tier. Ooh, this is not a great one at all. I'm gonna try to recreate it on the cube. Yeah, so here it is. I'm gonna try to solve this case in as few moves as I know how to. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that includes F moves or cube rotation. It's just kind of awkward to do. I'm gonna put it down in the D tier. And the mirror is also D tier. Possibly even worse because I think I do it a different way. So I do this case in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 moves, including a cube rotation. Man, this is just not a very good case. I'm gonna put it in D tier. This flipped edge case needs an algorithm to do, and I think it requires a cube rotation, at least if you do it the way I do it. This is another D tier. This one's just a flipped corner. There's an algorithm that goes basically R, U, R prime, U prime, R, U2, R prime, and then insert. But that's kind of long. It's quick to do if you know it, just like this, but it's still kind of long. It's unintuitive, so it goes in C tier. This one is kind of the same idea, but I do it a little bit differently. I actually take out the pair, split up the pieces, and then put it back in, but that doesn't make it any better. I'm gonna put it at C tier. Oh, this one is not very good at all either. The way I do it is I just take out the pair and then I get one of these other cases and then just do that. So this one goes in D tier. Since I don't know a super quick intuitive way to do it, and there's not a really good algorithm for it. So this is just all around one of the worst cases. And the final case, just the mirror of that, goes in D tier. So these are all the F2L cases ranked. I'm gonna see if I need to take any of these and move them to different tiers. Yeah, I'm gonna move this one to A tier. I think everything else here is fine though. So this is my finished F2L tier list. Do you agree, disagree? Let me know in the comments, and if you like this video, make sure to give it a like. Also, subscribe if you want to see more cubing content like this. Let's see if we can get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of this year, and I'll see you in my next video.